First contact and galactic peril. The vast expanse of space had always called to humanity, a siren song of mystery and possibility. But on that fateful day in 2045, as the experimental deep space probe Horizon transmitted its first images from beyond the Kuiper Belt, no one could have predicted the true nature of the universe that was about to be revealed. Dr. Elena Reyes, lead astrophysicist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, stared at her monitor in disbelief. The images flowing in from Horizon showed not empty space, but a massive structure, clearly artificial, hanging against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. "This can't be right," she muttered, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she ran diagnostic after diagnostic. But each test confirmed the same truth. They were looking at an alien space station. Within hours, the news had spread across the globe. Governments scrambled, religious leaders pontificated, and the public alternated between excitement and terror. But before Earth could decide on a course of action, the decision was made for them. 3 days after Horizon's discovery, a fleet of sleek, silver ships appeared in high Earth orbit. The aliens had arrived. The first message, broadcast on all frequencies and in perfect English, was both a relief and a shock. "People of Earth, we come in peace and dire need. We are the Galactic Alliance, and we require your help." What followed was a crash course in galactic politics and cosmic horror. The Alliance, a coalition of advanced spacefaring races, had been locked in a centuries-long war against an enemy they called the Void Swarm, a hive mind of insectoid creatures that consumed entire planets, turning thriving worlds into lifeless husks. Admiral Genva, the blue-skinned, four-armed leader of the Alliance fleet, stood before the United Nations General Assembly, her holographic form flickering slightly as she spoke. "We have watched your species for centuries," she said, her voice melodious despite the gravity of her words. "We've seen your wars, your struggles, but also your triumphs, your adaptability, your creativity in the face of adversity. These are qualities we desperately need in our fight against the Void Swarm." The assembly hall erupted in a cacophony of voices. Questions, accusations, and demands for proof flew from all directions. Through it all, Genva stood patiently, waiting for the storm to subside. When silence finally fell, she continued, "We do not ask this lightly. Joining our fight will change your world forever. But know this, the Void Swarm is coming. They've detected your civilization, and they will not stop until Earth is nothing but a barren rock." The following weeks were a whirlwind of diplomacy, information sharing, and heated debates. The Alliance provided irrefutable proof of the Void Swarm's existence and the devastation they had wrought across the galaxy. They also offered a tantalizing exchange: access to advanced technology in return for Earth's assistance in the war effort. Dr. Rice found herself at the center of it all, part of a hastily assembled team of scientists and military strategists tasked with assessing the Alliance's claims and technology. She worked tirelessly, poring over star charts, analyzing weapon schematics, and attempting to bridge the gap between human science and alien tech. "It's like being handed the key to the universe," she told her colleague, Dr. Amit Patel, as they examined a holographic display of an Alliance battlecruiser. "But the price is so high." Amit nodded grimly. "War never comes cheap, but can we afford not to pay?" The decision, when it came, was not unanimous, but it was decisive. Earth would join the Galactic Alliance in their fight against the Void Swarm. The announcement was met with a mix of patriotic fervor and abject terror. Recruitment centers were overwhelmed as volunteers lined up to join Earth's fledgling Space Force, while others stockpiled supplies and retreated to bunkers. As humanity geared up for war, a new project was greenlit: the Black Armada. Earth's best and brightest were tasked with developing a fleet of warships that could stand toe-to-toe with both Alliance and Void Swarm vessels. It was an ambitious undertaking, one that would push human ingenuity to its limits. Dr. Rice found herself appointed as the chief scientific advisor for the Black Armada project. As she stood in the cavernous hangar of the newly constructed Luna shipyards, watching as the keel of the first human battleship was laid down, she felt a mix of pride and trepidation. "We're really doing this," she whispered to herself. "We're going to war among the stars." Admiral Genve appeared beside her, the alien's expression unreadable. "Your people have surprised us, Dr. Reyes. We expected resistance, hesitation. Instead, you've embraced this challenge with a fervor we've rarely seen." Elena turned to face the Admiral, her jaw set with determination. "That's humanity for you, Admiral. When our backs are against the wall, we don't cower, we fight." As the two stood there, watching the birth of Earth's interstellar navy, neither could know the trials that lay ahead. The void swarm was coming, and humanity's resolve would be tested in ways they could scarcely imagine. But in that moment, as the first sparks flew in the construction of the Black Armada, a new chapter in human history began to unfold, one that would be written among the stars. The Black Armada project. The Luna shipyards hummed with activity, a hive of human ingenuity and alien technology working in concert. What had once been a desolate lunar mare was now a sprawling complex of fabrication plants, research facilities, and launch bays. At the heart of it all stood the skeletal frame of humanity's first true interstellar warship, the HSS Defiant. Captain Maya Chen stood at the viewport of the observation deck, her dark eyes fixed on the ship that would soon be under her command. At 35, she was young for such a responsibility, but her record spoke for itself. A decorated pilot and tactician, Maya had been hand-picked to lead humanity's first foray into galactic warfare. Impressive, isn't it? The voice belonged to Dr. Elena Reyes, who joined Maya at the viewport. 3 years ago, we were struggling to reach Mars. Now we're building ships that can cross the galaxy. Maya nodded, her expression a mix of awe and determination. "Let's just hope it's enough." The reports from the front lines. "They're not good." Elena's face tightened. The void swarm had been pushing deeper into Alliance territory, leaving a trail of devastated worlds in their wake. "That's why we're here. The Black Armada isn't just about matching the Alliance's tech, it's about surpassing it." As if on cue, a holographic display sprang to life between them, showing the intricate details of the Defiant systems. Chief Engineer Alexei Volkov, a bear of a man with a thick Russian accent, began his briefing. "The outer hull is a composite of graphene and alien alloys, stronger than anything we've ever built," Alexei explained, his hands moving through the hologram to highlight different areas. "But the real magic is inside. We've reverse-engineered the Alliance's quantum foam drives and improved them. Our ships will be faster, more maneuverable." Dr. Amit Patel, head of weapons development, chimed in. "And we're not stopping at propulsion. The main cannon uses a miniaturized particle accelerator. One shot can punch through a small moon." Maya whistled low. "Impressive. But will our crews be ready to handle this tech?" "That's where I come in," a new voice added. Lieutenant Commander Zara Okello stepped forward, her lithe frame belying her reputation as one of Earth's toughest combat instructors. "We're not just training pilots and gunners. We're creating a new kind of warrior, one who can think in 3 dimensions and react at the speed of thought." As the briefing continued, Maya found her mind wandering to the enormity of what they were undertaking. Humanity, in the span of a few short years, had gone from a planetary civilization to a species on the brink of interstellar war. The weight of responsibility settled heavily on her shoulders. Months passed in a blur of simulations, test flights, and endless refinements. The Black Armada grew from a single prototype to a fleet of a dozen ships, each more advanced than the last. But time was not on their side. Admiral Genva's hologram flickered to life in the war room, her normally composed features etched with concern. "The Void Swarm has broken through our defensive line in the Orion Arm. They're moving faster than we anticipated. Earth needs to be ready." The news sent a shockwave through the assembled human leadership. General Omar Hassan, The grizzled veteran in charge of Earth's military response leaned forward. "How long do we have?" Genva's four hands moved in a complex gesture, bringing up a galactic map. "At their current speed, they'll reach your solar system in 6 months." A heavy silence fell over the room. 6 months to prepare for an invasion by an enemy that had been waging interstellar war for centuries. It seemed impossible. But then Maya stood, her voice cutting through the gloom. 6 months is all we need. The Black Armada will be ready." Her confidence was infectious. Around the room, expressions of despair transformed into looks of grim determination. This was humanity's moment, their trial by fire. In the weeks that followed, the Luna shipyards operated at a feverish pace. Sleep became a luxury as engineers, scientists, and soldiers worked around the clock to bring the Black Armada to life. New technologies were integrated, tactics were developed and refined, and a steady stream of volunteers poured in from Earth, all eager to play their part in humanity's defense. Dr. Rice found herself pushing the boundaries of physics, melding human theoretical work with alien practical applications. "We're rewriting the laws of nature," she murmured one night as she watched a successful test of the quantum communications array, a device that would allow instantaneous communication across vast distances. Alexei and his engineering team performed miracles daily, coaxing impossible performance from hybrid human-alien systems. "She's not just a ship," he said, patting the hull of the Defiant. "She's the best of both worlds, human heart, alien muscles." Zara's training regimens bordered on the inhuman, pushing recruits to their physical and mental limits. Out there, hesitation means death. She barked at a group of exhausted cadets. "You need to be faster, smarter, and tougher than anything the Void Swarm can throw at you." Through it all, Maya watched and learned, absorbing every detail, every innovation. She knew that the fate of humanity would rest not just on the technology they were creating, but on the men and women who would wield it. Finally, with just weeks to spare before the projected arrival of the Void Swarm, the day of reckoning arrived. The Black Armada, a fleet of sleek, obsidian warships, stood ready in lunar orbit. Each vessel was a testament to human ingenuity and the power of cooperation, aesthetically human in design, but incorporating the best technologies both Earth and the Alliance had to offer. As Maya took her place on the bridge of the Defiant, she felt a surge of pride. This ship, this fleet, represented the best of humanity, their creativity, their resilience, their unwavering spirit in the face of overwhelming odds. "All ships, report in," she ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. One by one, the captains of the Black Armada sounded off. Each ship was crewed by the finest Earth had to offer, a mix of seasoned veterans and brilliant young minds, all united in their determination to defend their home. From her position at the science station, Alina caught Maya's eye and nodded. No words were needed. They both understood the enormity of what they were about to undertake. As the final checks were completed and the fleet prepared to make its first faster-than-light jump, Maya addressed her crew, and by extension, all of humanity. "We stand at a crossroads in human history," she began, her words broadcast to every ship in the fleet and to billions of listeners on Earth. "For centuries, we looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone. Now we know the truth. The galaxy is filled with wonders and terrors beyond imagination. We go now to face one of those terrors, not just for ourselves, but for all sentient life." She paused, looking at each member of her bridge crew. "The road ahead will be difficult. We will face challenges that will test us to our very core. But remember this, we are humanity. We have faced extinction before and survived. We have overcome every obstacle placed in our path. And now we will show the galaxy what we're truly capable of." With a gesture to her helmsman, Maya gave the order that would change the course of human history forever. "All ships, prepare for jump. The Black Armada rides to war." In a flash of quantum energy, the fleet vanished from Earth orbit, leaving behind a planet holding its breath, waiting to see if their champions would return victorious, or if the Void Swarm would prove too much for even humanity's indomitable spirit. The battle for Earth's survival had begun. Trial by fire. The Black Armada erupted into real space at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system, a vanguard of obsidian-hulled ships against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars. On the bridge of the HSS Defiant, Captain Maya Chen's eyes darted across the tactical display, taking in the unfolding situation. "Status report," she barked, her voice tight with tension. Lieutenant Commander Zara Okello's fingers danced across her console. "All ships present and accounted for, Captain. No damage from the jump. We're picking up Alliance distress signals from the third planet." Dr. Elena Reyes, monitoring the science station, added grimly, "Heavy Void Swarm activity detected throughout the system. They're consuming the planet, Maya." The main view screen flickered to life, showing a horrifying spectacle. The once vibrant world of Proxima Centauri III was being systematically devoured by a swarm of insectoid ships, each the size of a small city. Where they passed, they left nothing but barren rock and dust. Maya's jaw clenched. This was it. Humanity's first real glimpse of the enemy they had prepared so hard to face. "Comms, get me a line to Admiral Genva. Tactical, begin calculating firing solutions. We're not letting this planet fall without a fight." Admiral Genva's hologram materialized on the bridge, her four arms moving in agitation. "Captain Chen, your arrival is most fortuitous. We've been holding the line, but our forces are stretched thin. The Void Swarm's numbers are overwhelming." Maya nodded grimly. "We're here to even the odds, Admiral. The Black Armada stands ready to engage." As Maya coordinated with the Alliance forces, the crew of the Defiant and the other Black Armada ships prepared for battle. In engineering, Chief Engineer Alexei Volkov ran final checks on the experimental weapon systems. "You'll hold together, my beauty," he murmured to the ship. "Show them what Earth can do." The plan was audacious, perhaps suicidally so. While the Alliance fleet would continue to engage the main body of the Void Swarm, the Black Armada would punch through the enemy lines and strike at the massive high ships directing the assault. "All ships, this is Captain Chen." Maya's voice rang out across the fleet. "You've trained for this moment. You know what's at stake. Trust your instincts. Trust your training. And above all, trust each other. Weapons free. Engage at will." With that, the Black Armada surged forward, their advanced quantum drives allowing them to dance between the lumbering Void Swarm ships with almost impossible agility. The space around Proxima Centauri III erupted into a frenzy of weapons fire and explosions. On the Defiance bridge, Zara called out targets with machine gun precision, her training regimens paying off as the gunners responded with lightning speed. "High ship detected at bearing 045 Mark 030, she reported. "It's charging some kind of energy weapon." "Evasive maneuvers," Maya ordered. The Defiant rolled and dove, narrowly avoiding a beam of sickly green energy that could have sliced the ship in two. "Return fire. Main cannon, full charge." The ship shuddered as its spinal-mounted particle accelerator cannon fired, the beam lancing out to strike the high ship. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a silent flash, a massive hole was blown clean through the alien vessel. A cheer went up on the bridge, quickly silenced as Maya barked out new orders. This was no time for celebration. The battle had only just begun. Across the system, the other ships of the Black Armada were proving their worth. The HSS Indomitable, under the command of Captain Rashid Khoury, had adapted its shields to emit a disruptive frequency that confused the smaller swarm ships, causing them to crash into each other. The HSS Artemis, captained by the coolly efficient Yuki Tanaka, was using its advanced sensor suite to pinpoint weaknesses in the high ship's armor, coordinating devastating strike runs with Alliance bombers. But the Void Swarm was not without its own surprises. A new type of ship emerged from the depths of space, a grotesque fusion of organic and mechanical parts that seemed to adapt to each attack thrown its way. "They're learning," Elena breathed, her eyes wide as she analyzed the data streaming in. "Every time we destroy one, the others adapt. We need to end this quickly, or we'll lose our advantage." Maya nodded grimly. "Comms, get me a channel to all Black Armada ships. We're initiating Maneuver Omega." Maneuver Omega was a tactic they had drilled countless times in simulation, but never attempted in real combat. It required perfect coordination between all ships, pushing their quantum drives to the limit to execute a series of precisely timed microjumps. The goal was to confuse and disorient the enemy, creating a momentary gap in their defenses that could be exploited. As Maya gave the order, the Black Armada sprang into action. Ships blinked in and out of existence, appearing one moment near a Hive ship's vulnerable spots, unleashing a barrage of fire, then vanishing before the enemy could respond. The Void Swarm, for all its adaptability, found itself outmaneuvered by the sheer unpredictability of the human assault. In the chaos of battle, the HSS Defiant found itself face to face with the largest Hive ship yet seen, a monstrosity that dwarfed even the Alliance's biggest vessels. This was clearly the coordinating intelligence for the entire swarm invasion. "All power to forward shields," Maya ordered as the massive alien ship turned its attention to them. "Charge the main cannon. We're going to end this here and now." The Defiant shuddered under the onslaught of the Hive ship's weapons. Alarms blared across the bridge as systems began to overload. "Shield integrity at 30% and falling," Zara reported, her voice strained. "We can't take much more of this." In engineering, Alexei and his team worked feverishly to keep the ship together. "Come on, hold together," he muttered, rerouting power and sealing breaches as fast as they appeared. "Main cannon charged," Tactical reported. Maya's eyes narrowed. "Wait for it. Wait for it." The Hive ship loomed larger and larger on the view screen, filling it entirely. "Fire." The Defiant's main cannon fired, the beam of hyper-accelerated particles striking the Hive ship dead center. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed as if the shot had no effect. Then, with a silent explosion that lit up the system like a newborn star, the massive alien vessel began to break apart. As the coordinating intelligence of the swarm was destroyed, the rest of the alien ships fell into disarray. Without central direction, they became easy prey for the combined forces of the Black Armada and the Alliance. Hours later, as the last of the Void Swarm ships were being mopped up, Maya allowed herself a moment to breathe. The bridge of the Defiant was battered, filled with the acrid smell of burnt circuitry, but they had survived. More than that, they had won. Admiral Genva's hologram appeared once more, her expression one of awe and gratitude. "Captain Chen, we are in your debt. Your Black Armada has accomplished what we thought impossible. You've given us hope." Maya nodded, too exhausted for words. Around her, she saw the same mixture of fatigue and pride on the faces of her crew. They had been tested in the crucible of interstellar war and emerged victorious. But as the adrenaline of battle faded, a sobering realization set in. This was only the beginning. The Void Swarm would be back, and next time, they would be prepared for humanity's tactics. As the Black Armada regrouped and began to assess their losses, Maya knew that the real challenge lay ahead. They had won the battle, but the war for survival was far from over. Humanity had proven its worth among the stars, but their greatest trials were yet to come. The galaxy watched and waited, wondering what this upstart species would do next. The turning point. The victory at Proxima Centauri had bought humanity and a galactic alliance precious time, but the war against the Void Swarm raged on. For months, the Black Armada fought alongside their alien allies, pushing back the tide of insectoid invaders across dozens of star systems. Each battle was hard-won, each victory tempered by the knowledge that the swarm seemed endless in its numbers. Aboard the HS Defiant, now scared and battle-worn, Captain Maya Chen studied the latest intelligence reports with a furrowed brow. The ship's ready room, once pristine, now bore the marks of constant combat. Hastily repaired panels, scorched bulkheads, and the ever-present hum of overworked systems. "They're adapting faster than we can innovate," she murmured, her voice heavy with fatigue. Dr. Elena Reyes, looking equally exhausted, nodded in agreement. "Every new tactic we develop buys us less time before they counter it," Elena said. "We need something game-changing, Maya. Something they can't adapt to." As if on cue, the door chimed. "Enter," Maya called out. Lieutenant Commander Zara Okello strode in, her usual crisp demeanor somewhat subdued. "Captain, Doctor, you need to see this," she said, activating the room's holographic display. The image that sprang to life was of a Void Swarm-high ship, but unlike any they had encountered before. This one pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly energy. "We intercepted this footage from an Alliance scout ship," Zara explained. "They're calling it a Nexus ship. It seems to be coordinating swarm activity across multiple sectors simultaneously." Elena leaned in, her scientific curiosity piqued despite the dire implications. That level of coordination, it shouldn't be possible across such vast distances. Unless, her eyes widened, unless they've somehow weaponized quantum entanglement. Maya's head snapped up. "Like our quantum comm systems." Elena nodded grimly. "But on a scale we've never imagined. If we're right, this Nexus ship isn't just coordinating. It's the linchpin of their entire invasion strategy." The implications were staggering. If they could somehow disrupt or destroy this Nexus ship, it could throw the entire Void Swarm into disarray. But reaching it would mean penetrating deeper into enemy territory than any Alliance or human ship had ever gone. "We need to take this to Admiral Genva," Maya decided. "This could be the break we've been waiting for." Hours later, the leaders of the Black Armada and the Alliance fleet were gathered in a secure quantum conference. The mood was tense as Maya and Elena laid out their theory and the potential opportunity it presented. Admiral Genva's hologram flickered as she absorbed the information. "A bold plan, Captain Chen," she said finally. "But the risks. To reach this Nexus ship would require a level of stealth we've never achieved against the swarm." It was then that Chief Engineer Alexei Volkov cleared his throat. All eyes turned to the burly Russian. "Perhaps," he began, his accent thicker than usual with excitement, "we have been thinking about stealth all wrong. We try to hide from swarm, yes, but what if instead we hide in plain sight?" The room fell silent as Alexei outlined his idea. It was audacious, possibly suicidal. But the more he spoke, the more Maya felt a spark of hope ignite in her chest. This was the kind of innovative thinking that had allowed humanity to survive against the odds time and time again. "We've recovered enough swarm biomatter from destroyed ships," Alexei continued. "With Dr. Ray's help, I believe we can create a biomechanical camouflage. We cover Defiant in it, mask our energy signatures. We become a swarm ship." The room erupted into a flurry of discussion. The risks were enormous. If the disguise failed, the Defiant would find itself alone and defenseless in the heart of enemy territory. But the potential payoff. "Even if we reach the Nexus ship," Zora pointed out, ever the tactical thinker, "how do we destroy something that massive? Our conventional weapons would be like pinpricks." It was Dr. Amit Patel who provided the answer. The weapons scientist had been quietly working on a project he called the Nova Bomb, a device that could trigger a localized supernova, powerful enough to vaporize an entire star system. "We'd only get one shot," Amit warned, "and whoever delivers it, it would be a one-way trip." The gravity of the situation settled over the room. They were talking about a suicide mission, one with galactic stakes. If it failed, humanity and the Alliance would likely fall to the swarm. But if it succeeded, Maya stood, her decision made. "The Defiant will go," she declared. "This is our best chance to end this war, and we owe it to every life lost, every world destroyed, to take it." Admiral Genva nodded solemnly. The Alliance will create a diversion. Draw as much of the swarm's attention as we can. But Captain Chen, Maya, you and your crew need to understand. If you do this, if you fail, we won't fail. Maya interrupted, her voice filled with a determination that swept through the room. Humanity didn't come this far, didn't reach the stars, just to fall now. We started this fight to save Earth. We'll finish it to save the galaxy. The next weeks were a blur of feverish activity. The Defiant was overhauled, its sleek hull covered in a grotesque layer of biomechanical camouflage. Alexei and his team worked around the clock, integrating swarm technology with human ingenuity. Elena and Amit pored over the Nova bomb schematics, refining the design to ensure maximum destructive potential. Through it all, Maya prepared her crew. This wasn't just a mission. It was potentially humanity's final stand. Each member of the Defiant's crew was given the option to step down, to join the main fleet instead. Not a single one did. As the day of launch approached, a palpable tension filled the ship. Maya walked the corridors, speaking with each member of her crew. She saw fear in their eyes, yes, but also an unshakable resolve. These were the best humanity had to offer, and they were ready to give everything for the cause. The night before the mission, Maya found herself in the ship's observation lounge, staring out at the stars. Elena joined her, the two women standing in companionable silence for a long moment. "Do you think we can do it?" Elena asked finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Maya turned to her friend, a small smile on her lips. "I think we have to," she replied. "But more than that, I think this is what humanity was meant for. We've always pushed boundaries, always reached for the impossible. Tomorrow, we reach farther than we ever have before." As the stars wheeled slowly past the viewport, Maya felt a sense of calm settle over her. Whatever happened next, humanity had proven itself. They had faced the greatest threat in galactic history and stood their ground. Now, they would take the fight to the enemy. The next morning, as the Defiant prepared to depart, messages of support flooded in from Earth and every human colony. The hopes of an entire species rested on their shoulders. Maya took her place on the bridge, looking at each member of her crew. In their eyes, she saw not just determination, but pride. Pride in their ship, pride in their species, pride in each other. "All stations, report," she ordered, her voice steady. One by one, each section of the ship reported ready. As the final checks were completed, Maya took a deep breath. This was it, the moment that would define not just the war, but perhaps the future of all sentient life in the galaxy. "Helm," she said, her voice carrying the weight of history, "take us out. We have a galaxy to save." The Defiant's engines hummed to life, propelling the disguised ship towards the heart of Void Swarm territory. As they left the safety of Alliance space behind, every member of the crew knew that they were embarking on the most important mission in human history. The battle for the future of the galaxy had begun, and humanity was leading the charge. Humanity's finest hour. The HSS Defiant glided silently through the void, its biomechanical camouflage pulsing with an alien rhythm that belied the human hearts beating within. For days, they had traveled deeper into Void Swarm territory than any Alliance ship had ever ventured, each moment fraught with the risk of discovery. On the bridge, Captain Maya Chen sat rigidly in her command chair, every muscle tense. The normally bustling command center was eerily quiet, the crew communicating in whispers and hand signals to maintain their deception. "Contact." Lieutenant Commander Zara Okello's voice was barely audible. "Massive structure dead ahead." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that stole the breath from every throat on the bridge. The Nexus ship loomed before them, a twisted amalgamation of organic and mechanical parts that dwarfed even the largest high ships they had encountered. Tendrils of dark energy writhed around it, creating a maelstrom of quantum distortions. "Life signs?" Maya asked, her voice tight. Dr. Elena Reyes shook her head, her eyes wide as she studied her readouts. if you can call it life. The entire structure seems to be one interconnected organism. It's like looking at the brain of the entire swarm. Maya nodded grimly. This was their target, the linchpin of the entire Void Swarm invasion. If they could destroy it, they might just save the galaxy. If they failed, take us in, she ordered. Nice and easy. Remember, we're just another swarm ship coming home to roost. The Defiant edged closer to the massive structure, its disguise holding firm. Swarm ships of various sizes swarmed around them, but none paid them any particular attention. It seemed Alexei's crazy plan was actually working. As they approached a docking tendril, Maya felt a bead of sweat trickle down her spine. This was the most dangerous part of the mission. If their ruse was discovered now, they would have nowhere to run. Docking clamps engaged, the helm officer reported, his voice trained. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a shudder that ran through the entire ship, they were pulled into the massive structure of the Nexus ship. All stop, Maya ordered. Initiate silent running. Mr. Volkov, begin power-up sequence for the Nova Bomb. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Alexei Volkov and his team worked with grim efficiency. The Nova Bomb was a marvel of human ingenuity and alien technology, capable of unleashing the power of a supernova in a controlled burst. But it required precise calibration and an enormous amount of energy. Energy they couldn't generate without risking detection. Capacitors at 15% and rising, Alexei reported over the comm. We need at least 85% for optimal yield. Maya acknowledged the report, her mind racing. They needed time, but every second they remained docked increased the risk of discovery. Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship. We've been made, Zora shouted, all pretense of stealth abandoned. Multiple hostiles converging on our position. Maya's training took over. Battle stations. Helm, detach us from this monstrosity. Weapons, target those docking clamps. We need to buy time for the Nova Bomb to charge. The Defiant roared to life, shedding its biomechanical disguise as it tore free from the Nexus ship. The element of surprise lost, the human warship unleashed its full arsenal, blasting away at the oncoming swarm vessels. Shield integrity at 70% and falling, Zara reported as the ship shuddered under enemy fire. We're outnumbered at least 100 to 1. On the main view screen, Maya watched as swarms of smaller ships peeled off from the Nexus, converging on their position. It was like watching a hive mind become aware of an infection, marshaling all its resources to eliminate the threat. Nova Bomb at 45% charge. Alexei's voice crackled over the comm. We need more time. Maya gritted her teeth. Helm, evasive pattern delta. Weapons, concentrate fire on their propulsion systems. We don't need to destroy them. Just slow them down. The Defiant danced through space, its advanced quantum drives allowing it to pull off maneuvers that would have torn a lesser ship apart. But for every swarm ship they disabled, 2 more took its place. Shield integrity critical. Zara shouted as another barrage rocked the ship. We can't take much more of this. Maya's mind raced. They were so close, but at this rate, they wouldn't survive long enough to detonate the bomb. They needed a miracle. And then, as if in answer to an unspoken prayer, space itself seemed to tear open. Through the rift poured ships of the Black Armada and the Alliance fleet, guns blazing. Admiral Genva's voice crackled over the comm. Thought you could use a little help, Captain Chen. We couldn't let you have all the fun. A cheer went up on the Defiance bridge. The cavalry had arrived, and not a moment too soon. With the combined might of the Black Armada and the Alliance fleet engaging the swarm, the Defiant had the breathing room it needed. Nova Bomb at 90% charge. Alexei reported, the excitement clear in his voice. We're almost there. But the Void Swarm was not about to go down without a fight. The Nexus ship itself began to move, its massive form turning to bring terrifying weapons to bear on the Allied fleet. All ships, fall back, Maya ordered. We need to clear the blast radius. As the Allied ships began to retreat, the Defiant stood its ground. They were the only ones who could deliver the payload, the only ones who could end this war once and for all. Nova bomb at 100% charge, Alexei reported. It's now or never, Captain. Maya took a deep breath, looking around at her crew. Each face she saw was resolute, ready to make the ultimate sacrifice if necessary. It's been an honor serving with all of you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Now let's finish this. For Earth, for the Alliance, for every life, the swarm has taken. Fire the Nova bomb. With a silent flash, the bomb launched, streaking towards the heart of the Nexus ship. For a moment, it seemed as if time itself held its breath. Then, with a blinding flash that outshone the stars themselves, the Nova bomb detonated. The Nexus ship, the coordinating intelligence of the entire Void swarm, was engulfed in a miniature supernova. The Defiant's engines screamed as they pushed to their limits, racing to escape the expanding shockwave. The ship bucked and shuddered, systems failing across the board as the wave of energy washed over them. When the light faded and sensors came back online, the sight that greeted them was one of utter devastation. Where the Nexus ship had been, there was now nothing but scattered debris, and all around, swarm ships drifted lifelessly, their controlling intelligence obliterated. On the Defiance bridge, a stunned silence fell. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had delivered the killing blow to an enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. As reports began to flood in from across Alliance space of swarm forces falling into disarray, the reality of their victory began to sink in. Cheers erupted across the ship, crew members embracing each other in joy and disbelief. Maya slumped in her chair, exhaustion and elation warring within her. They had saved not just Earth, but countless worlds across the galaxy. Humanity, in its first foray into interstellar politics, had changed the course of galactic history. In the days that followed, as the Allied fleets mopped up the remaining swarm forces, the full impact of humanity's actions became clear. Species that had cowered in fear of the Void swarm for generations now looked to Earth with awe and gratitude. The Galactic Alliance, once skeptical of humanity's inclusion, now welcomed them as full and honored members. At a ceremony on Earth, attended by dignitaries from across the galaxy, Admiral Genva spoke for many when she said, "In our darkest hour, when hope seemed lost, humanity showed us the way. They reminded us what it means to stand against tyranny, to fight for the right to exist. The galaxy owes them a debt that can never be fully repaid." As Maya stood on the stage, accepting accolades on behalf of her crew and all of humanity, she thought about the long journey that had brought them to this point. From a species confined to a single world to the saviors of the galaxy, humanity had come farther than anyone could have imagined. But as she looked out at the sea of faces before her, human and alien alike, Maya knew that this was not an end, but a beginning. Humanity had found its place among the stars, had proven its worth in the crucible of interstellar war. Now, the real work began, the work of building a lasting peace, of exploring the wonders of the galaxy they had helped to save. The stars, once so distant and unreachable, now beckoned with infinite possibilities. And humanity, tempered by fire and united in purpose, was ready to answer that call. As the ceremony concluded and the cheers of the crowd washed over her, Maya smiled. Whatever challenges the future held, whatever wonders or terrors lurked in the vast expanse of space, she knew one thing for certain: humanity would face it together, with the same indomitable spirit that had carried them this far. The Black Armada had awakened when humanity went to war. Now, in peace, it would lead them to a future brighter than any they could have imagined.